Good morning.
Good morning.
What a wonderful place to be gathered, I think. I think of the New Garden Quakers some 200 and plus years ago who sat out in the woods on a log and gathered in a circle, and how primitive, as you were saying, Mary, that must have really been, and how far did they have to travel even to make it to that place, and by foot or horseback or who knows what. And still our primitive is on concrete with wooden benches and plumbing. All of which I'm grateful for. The reading for this morning comes from Britain Yearly Meeting, Faith and Practice, which I really enjoy. This was an entry from 1936, and I thought, man, it's made it all these decades that it's still in Yearly Meeting, Faith and Practice for British friends. And it's by Mary F. Smith, not Mary Louise Smith, who could be a descendant, who knows. Prayer is the right kind of exercise for the spirit, as thought is of the mind, and physical exercise is for our bodies. To pray about anything is to use the powers of our spirit on it. Just to think clearly is to use our mental powers. For the best solution of every problem, the best carrying out of every action, both thought and prayer are necessary. And then she goes on, prayer is never wasted, even if it seems unanswered, any more than love is wasted when it is unreturned. And then over 60 years later, Donald Court added this insight. Prayer alone can reopen the road to the Spirit, blocked repeatedly by busyness, self-importance, self-indulgence, self-pity, depression, or despair. Before I begin the message, if you are having trouble hearing me, I'll teach you something, one little piece of sign language. Just make an L in your ear, and that means in sign language louder. And that way, if you can't hear me, I'll know to raise the volume, if I can. So when I was here a few weeks ago, we had looked at what does it mean to hold someone or something in the light. And I shared with you some insights about the different kinds of prayer. We looked at intercessory and transmissive and receptive prayer. And I promised you that sometime down the road I would share with you my favorite prayers. And I want to do that today, but I also want to look at a few more aspects of prayer. One of my first things whenever I'm looking at a topic is to ask, why bother? Or what is this about? Or what? And my question, last time I said, what does it mean to hold somebody in the light? This question is, what is prayer anyway? I remember just being anybody was a sunbeam as a little kid? Jesus wants us for a sunbeam. I was a sunbeam, and I've heard a woman that I didn't like say to an older member of the church where my family went at that age, I'll be praying for you. And it just flowed over me. And it's like, oh my gosh, I thought she was mean. I'll be praying for you. And she meant it. It's like, it really changed my perspective on her. But so what is prayer? It's a well-known, well-understood word. I knew what she meant at 5, that it was bigger than just her. And to me, I think it is the word we use for whatever we do to align our full attention, our full intention and our desires as we connect with something that is larger than us. That which is often the term I use. Prayer can take many forms. Quakers, as we cultivate the stillness and the quietness, we're praying. And someone entering gratitudes in their journal, they're praying. It's the deepest longing of our hearts that we pour out on behalf of someone or on behalf of our own selves. That is prayer. Prayer is also universal. And what I mean by universal is that prayer isn't limited to one Christian practice or another, a denomination or another. And neither is it even limited to Christianity, although an internet search would have you believe otherwise. It is not limited to Christianity. It's not even limited to requiring that you believe in whatever the name that the person who's praying uses for the creative forces in the universe. Whether we're saying our prayers with a rosary or a mala, or we're praying through the help of a loudspeaker as we face Mecca, or we're chanting our prayer to the beat of a drum, or we're just whispering it silently in our hearts. And I jokingly add to that, saying it under our breath sometimes. Bless your heart can be a prayer.
As long as you don't say it twice in a row.
A prayer can be a poem. Walt Whitman or Mary Oliver, how many of you have prayed their prayers? A prayer can be a kiss goodnight on the cheek of your babies. It could be a wish that you make when you blow out the candles. It can be a recitation of whatever writing or scripture the person who's praying holds sacred. So prayer is truly that yearning of our souls. We've taken the time to acknowledge and to express in some way. One of my most favorite aspects of prayer is that it affects the prayer more so than anything else. And prayer, it doesn't make a very A, B, C, D logical study topic because there's a lot of subjective in it. But there really are studies that have shown that prayer improves the life of the person who's praying. Wow, it just blew across me praying with the father who had lost his newborn baby, and how that prayer of anger and lament kind of let the pressure off of his heart. Prayer can leave the prayer with a sense of calm and peace. It's been shown to reduce a person's feeling of isolation or anxiety. People who have prayed report an easing of their depression or their anger or whatever feeling and angst they're feeling. Those who pray intentionally for each other are proven to be less likely to be angry and aggressive toward each other, and they're proven to be more likely to be forgiving of each other. It's almost like we're being held accountable to those prayers we've lifted up. And it could be that these benefits are why I have a couple of prayers I use frequently, probably several times a day, because I've got them memorized. But interestingly enough, they don't come from the Christian tradition. I think I've kind of collected them in my little box of tools along the way. And yet their unfailing ability to shift my perspective and to somehow change most situations. There's only one person that I hold in these two prayers that I have not seen a change in, so maybe I need to pray the more. But those effects are undeniable to me. Nobody else knows that I've been praying them, but to see the shift is just amazing. The first prayer, it may even be familiar to you. In the Buddhist tradition, it's called the loving kindness blessing. My version is one I've glued together because loving kindness blessing is really short. And I wanted something that would deepen with me as I prayed. And so I call it my metta prayer. And metta is a word that comes from Buddhism that's kind of an umbrella of terms. Not only does it mean loving kindness, it also conveys a heartfelt wish of unconditional regard and genuine concern and compassion for all of creation. So it's my metta prayer. And it goes like this. There's a blank where you fill in the blank to say the name of a person, or in the Buddhist tradition, it's said starting with I, and then we, and then the world, or backwards, the world, we, and then I. But I'll use the word all so it doesn't get too cumbersome. May all be well. May all be at peace. May all be happy. May all be filled with loving kindness. May the heart of all remain open. May all be healed. May all realize the beauty of their own true nature. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I'll get to about, may I be well, may I be at peace, may I be happy, and then I'm asleep. So I'll be honest with you, I have prayed this prayer when I'm having difficulty, not just with an individual, but like maybe a business or a traffic situation. I just bless it with the prayer. And not that I've had difficulty here at Winston-Salem Friends meeting, but I will say, may Winston-Salem Friends be well. May Winston-Salem Friends be at peace, and go through my metta prayer that way. I brought with me one of my many index cards that I put wherever I'm sitting so that I can pray my prayer whenever someone comes to my heart, or when maybe they come to my heart but I'm really PO'd and I'm finding I need to circle back and bless it instead of fuss about it. Or when I want to say something derogatory, I go in my mind and I begin, may this person be well. And on the reverse side of my index card is my second favorite prayer. This one takes a little more time. It's a little deeper reflection and more personal. And it's the one that I mentioned last week that's called Ho'oponopono. And Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian word. So it's a lot of O's, a lot of P's, and it starts with an H. Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian word that translates loosely into restoring balance and harmony to life. It's like making things right again.
Tikkun ha'olam. It's a Jewish word.
Right, exactly.
Repairing the world.
Yes, and tikkun is another prayer technique that I'm not going to share today. Tikkun is one of my favorite prayers too. Ho'oponopono was once part of the ancient healing traditions in Hawaii, passed down secretly, generation to generation, to the shamans called kahuna. So big kahuna, that's where that comes from. It means shaman. So next time you say that, you're saying this person is a healer. I'll tell you a joke about when I was a change consultant one day when I'm not standing up front about that. The last known Hawaiian kahuna who was trained in the ancient traditions is a woman by the name of Morna Nalamaku Simeona. And she began to realize that with the onslaught of Western cultures in Hawaii and throughout the Polynesian region, that the kahuna ways were being lost. There was no one after her that was trained in the ancient secret ways of the kahunas. And she decided that the prayer of Ho'oponopono really needed to be taught beyond the secret healing techniques. So there's one thing about kahuna medicine that comes into play, though, is that it holds in the belief that we're all interrelated. And that was very foreign to Westerners back in the 40s and 30s. When you are sick, the belief holds, I can help you heal by working on my own self, my own spirit. So this is challenging for Westerners to really grasp. But if you believe that we're all interconnected and you practice the Ho'oponopono prayer, is so amazing that it's worth considering the possibility. Ho'oponopono is just 4 simple statements. And you hold the person or the place or the thing in your heart as you're saying them. The first one is, I'll just go through them. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And my first reaction to when I learned Ho'oponopono years ago was like, I'm sorry? What do you mean I'm sorry? I'm praying for this person because something needs to be fixed in them. I didn't do it. They did it. And so it's like, how can I be sorry when it's not my fault? But remember the challenge. We're all interwoven. We're all one. If there's something amiss in them, then there's something amiss in me. And that's based on, I wouldn't see it if it wasn't broken in me. So, I want you to bear with me with that. Because at this point, I'm like, oh yeah, really? When I first learned it, I have developed a sentence that I say with I'm sorry. And it goes like this. It also kind of bypasses my logical mind to make it more palatable. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for anything I bring to our relationship that is detrimental. Detrimental to you, detrimental to me, detrimental to us. I usually have no clue what it is that I have stirred up or what I brought with me from my history or my wounds or whatever. But whatever it is that's detrimental, I am truly sorry. So next is please forgive me. Please forgive me for whatever it is that I've brought out in us that is detrimental. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And next is thank you. Thank you for being willing to show me that something is out of balance in me. Thank you for bringing it to the surface for me to bring back into harmony. And lastly is I love you. And I don't know about you, but my same response with I'm sorry was I love you. I love you. I'm really mad at them. Why would I say I love you? But even if we don't love a person's behavior or love them as a human being, we could probably back up several steps and say, I love your soul. I love the light that you were brought to earth to embody. Even when you don't see it, even when you don't live it, even when you don't love your own light. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Whew, I love it. It gives me chills every time I say it. To me, it's just like 4 simple sentences, and yet they do move situations and relationships toward harmony. So it's my hope that you'll take these 2 prayers to heart, and maybe you'll add them to your prayer practice. I had to make copies for today's last hymn, and I thought, well, shoot, I'm going to give you a piece of paper, so I might as well give you the prayers on the back of them. So hopefully you have enough printed. But it is my hope that as we enter into the silence, that we may all be well, that we may all be at peace, that we may all be happy. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May our hearts remain open. May we all be healed. And may we all realize the beauty of our own true nature. And so it is. Amen.